On. All right, welcome to the kind of new, still same kind of format. Show's got a new name starting this year. It is now called the Big Bend Fishing Report. Got a few changes that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. You'll see some familiar faces up here. I'm Captain J. Carson. This is Captain Kenny Mullins, and then we've got Evan Snow over here on the far right side. He's kind of in a new spot because he's playing the guest role tonight instead of the co-host role. Kenny's going to start filling in as the co-host for this year. Evan's still going to join us occasionally, but kind of on a as-needed basis. So we do appreciate you coming in and filling in tonight or joining us tonight, Evan. So thanks for that, man.
Thank you.
Sure.
This is a Big Bend Fishing Report. Our title sponsor this month is Keaton Beach Trading Post, and that's where we are tonight. We are at the Keaton Beach Trading Post right across from the Keaton Beach Boat Ramp in Keaton Beach, Florida. Keaton Beach Trading Post is recently opened, owned by Stephanie and George here in Keaton Beach, and it looks awesome since the last time I was in here. We filmed an episode, what was that, back in October, Evan, I believe? October, November.
Yeah, Pat was with us.
Yeah, Pat was with us, and we filmed it up here then, and it looks completely different since then even. They've got a ton of stuff in here, sunglasses, apparel.
They're open now.
Yeah,
so they're open on the weekends. I think they're open Saturdays and Sundays right now. A little bit during the week when they're around, so they'll have the now open sign out there while they're open. So if you're fishing and see the now open,
for sure,
signs,
they're open pretty much most days of the week. Midday from like 10 to 5, somewhere in that range.
Official hours are just weekends.
Yeah,
right
weekends
now.
right now.
Okay,
And of course online. Don't forget online.
They are here.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in here, and
for sure.
And,
lots of apparel. You got some shirts hanging up on this rack. I was
man,
browsing through it earlier,
check out this hoodie, guys.
and I saw that shirt hanging up on the rack there. So you can come get you an Appalachia Inshore apparel from the Keaton Beach Trading Post. All right, so that's where we're at. This is January. Kenny, we've kind of had a warm December.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so that kind of changed the way that maybe we thought we might be fishing through December, but we did get a very recent cold front here recently, which has dropped the water temperature a good amount in the last couple days. So let's talk real quick about just the current conditions and what we've been seeing and what we anticipate seeing as we go, from December to January. Like we said, it's been warm, and really, it's almost been like fall fishing for the month of December.
It has been. I mean, up until the last couple of days, water temps have been pushing low 70s.
Yeah, we were out the other day, and it was 70 degrees, in December, and at the end of December, basically, after between Christmas and New Year's. So, which still has the fish kind of a little bit more scattered than they would be normally this time of year.
Yeah, they're still stacking up in some areas, but they for the most part they're scattered.
But even though they're scattered, there's some areas that we're predictably finding them. It's just you're having to go to more of like a October, November, pattern as of that. But I do anticipate with these, we're supposed to get a few fronts coming up here soon, and I do anticipate that as these fronts come through, that our water temperature is going to start cooling off, and we'll see a more normal pattern for this time of year. Evan was the only one of us that fished today, and it was not very good today, right? With that water temperature, kind of had him shut down a little bit.
No, it was not very good today. So we caught 2 fish today in a 4-hour afternoon trip, trying to wait on the tide to get up because there was no water all morning. And we had a big temp drop. It's dropped, 10-plus degrees in a couple days. And, we talk a lot on this thing and the years past and about these, post-front fishing days. But, we kind of had to get it in, so we went out there and tried it. And we caught 2 fish, one about a 13-inch redfish and one 15-inch trout. And the trout, we didn't even hook in the mouth. They got foul hooks, so that lets you know about how good it was today.
Yeah, you were in the right spot. They just weren't biting.
I guess.
That's part of it, though. You're going to have days, especially in the wintertime, where you get out there and you're going to struggle when you have significant temperature drops and pressure changes like we had today. So,
I knew going in. I told the people, I said, look, it's probably going to be slow. I wanted to just try to go in the creeks and maybe to like try some holes in the creeks with some shrimp and stuff, when it's really slow, draw that out. But, with a little bit of a north wind today, and the tide never got very high, so it was really even hard to do that. Some of my spots I wanted to go to weren't covered up with enough water to really stack fish,
or hold fish.
Right.
Yeah, just it was a tough afternoon.
Yeah, but that's kind of a typical. When you get these hard north winds, after a front comes through, it pushes the water out, and then we had a huge negative tide today as well, so makes it really tough. That's like the worst scenario. Conditions to try to, fish in.
It's the first winter conditions we've had this year. We've been a little spoiled.
Yeah, even the fronts that we had in November where it cooled off, they weren't those hard north wind fronts, where it blew the water out any. So yeah, today was really the first one of those days where you probably didn't want to be out there if you could avoid it. I see some comments coming in, so I appreciate the comments coming in. We are going to get to these comments. We have a little comments and question and answer section at the end of the show always, and we're going to get to those. So I see your comment, at, Michael Ammon. Appreciate that there. Evening to you too, sir. So we'll get to those. If you got any questions or anything as you think of them, as what we're talking about stuff, feel free to drop those in the comment section, and we will see them, and we will get to them accordingly. So that's what current conditions, and then as far as what we anticipate for moving forward through January, Kenny, how do you see things going as we start to get more of these fronts and the fishing is going to change a little bit through January?
Well, up until this front, I mean, we've been, like you said, we've been fishing our basically October, November areas. There's been catching trout a mile out, 4.5, 5 feet of water.
Yeah.
There's been some up close, but the water temp's dropping. It's going to start pushing these fish in, stacking them up, and as it gets, if it gets cold for any length of time, we'll start pushing them into the creeks. And
yeah, I mean, there's some fish in the creek mouths right now,
right?
Just not as many as there normally would be for this time of year.
Right.
They're really, I mean, you can find them from the creek mouths all the way out, like you were saying, a mile out, depending on what you're doing or where you're at. And so some things that we're looking for is traditional spots. I mean, you're looking for if you're fishing creek mouths or the shoreline, hard bottom points, oyster bars around the creek mouths, or even just random oyster bars along a grass line have been
potholes.
Yep. And then when you're out on the flats, what kind of bottom? You don't like just solid grass bottom when you're looking for fish, right? I mean,
I look for patchy, shallow patchy mud flats.
Yeah. Yep. Something
especially after a negative tide and sun's heating it up. And
right. Something that's got just little different structure on it that's gonna concentrate bait and then obviously concentrate those game fish.
And that's the big thing. I mean, with the water temps the way they were, we held bait on the flats a lot longer. Yeah. We had those early cold fronts, and the bait started pushing out, and then it got warm, and it all pushed back in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's been going on there.
I mean,
the fishing is just phenomenal.
It really is.
When you have these mild winters like this, I mean, obviously we had a tough day today. We had a cold front roll in, but we hadn't had a cold front in weeks, and it's just been.
And the ones we did have were mild.
Absolutely on fire for weeks now. So we were due for a little bit of a slowdown.
Yeah, and we're saying that the fish are scattered, but there is a lot of fish, and the fishing is really, really good. So don't let us. Throw you off on that. It's been really good.
The old saying is 90% of the fish are in 10% of the water.
Yep.
That hasn't really been the case because just about everywhere you go, you were catching
everywhere.
Them. But like now, as the winter sets in and this water temperature stays down, that probably will be more the case.
Yeah, and so as we kind of anticipate to get some more fronts and more cooler water, it's going to change up some tactics that we've been using as far as what we can be successful with in the month of January, and so that's going to roll us over into our January best bets. I don't know, Evan, if you came in with something in mind that you had, because you kind of had a feeling we were going to be talking about something like this. But so if you don't, I'll give you a minute. I'll give you a minute to come up with something.
You guys do your thing.
Yeah, we'll but so in January, you want to go first? You want to talk about your best bet?
Yeah, I mean,
and you've been doing it a lot lately.
I've been doing it a lot lately. A lot of plugs, throwing a lot of suspending plugs, floating diving plugs. just some of my go-tos have been the unfair greenie has been on fire. I've been throwing the 90 size Miradines. As the fish start getting in close and we're fishing more shallower mud flats in some of these transition areas, and I may throw like a mirror lure 7M, which is an old classic.
You still throw mirror lures?
Oh yeah.
I thought Eamon had you all on unfairs.
I use what catches fish.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I like unfair plugs. They work. The rip and slash, and I really like that greenie. It's been a good one.
Yeah, you've been using that one a bunch lately.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, all those plugs that we're talking about are basically suspending plugs.
Right.
That either going to suspend in the water column or have a slow sink rate to them. And then also a lot of lipped plugs.
Yes.
Which don't
lip
have
diving,
yeah,
floating diving.
Which when you jerk, they dive down and they float back up to the surface. And those have been the predominant plugs that we've been throwing.
Even when it's been warm on warm afternoons, I always try top water. Like I have somebody fishing with something else, and I'll throw top water. It hadn't really been working very well. The grass is still, it's not terrible, but it's still there in places. And, we're not having a lot of success getting them to come up. Maybe 1 in 5 days we'll get some interaction on top water, but it hadn't been great.
It was good the other day when it was blowing 18. We were top water and just inside the creeks, and those protected areas was pretty good.
Yeah. We filmed a show a couple weeks ago called the Captain's Log. And we filmed a show up here, and like you said, it was one of those warm days. It was before a front, and we threw top water, and it was just nonstop action on top water from trout. So it's definitely when that water temperature comes up, and you get that muggy, little bit muggy air. It gets humid. It seems like they're wanting to come up and feed on top a little bit more.
Well, this
I
year
wouldn't throw top water in the morning.
No, not tomorrow morning.
Well, this year we kind of missed that good top water temps. It went straight from 80-degree water temps to 60s.
That and the grass was so bad.
It was bad.
It was.
It's still bad. It's still bad. It's still bad in some spots.
This is the worst I've ever seen the floating grass.
Yeah, for sure.
Through summer, and it's supposed to clear out in the fall and the winter, and honestly, it's still bad in spots.
It is. Yeah, it was out a couple days ago, and it was like you had to pick your spots. You couldn't throw top water because of the floating grass. So my January best bet is going to be, as we do get these fronts, I like to throw a lot of smaller baits in the wintertime. So I'll pull from some bass techniques, like throwing creature baits. If you know what a creature bait, it's something that looks like a crawfish or a shrimp or something like that, and just kind of slow bounce those off the bottom. And I have a lot of success doing that. And you can fish, certain cuts or holes or things like that with that. But I also have a lot of success just covering water with those, just bouncing as I go, and we catch a lot of fish on small soft plastics. I know most people, that when they think of a soft plastic for saltwater, what do you think of?
Gulp.
A gulp or a paddle tail, right? Gulp or a paddle tail, right?
Yep.
Exactly. I'm gonna play a little Pat McGriff right here,
yep,
and ask you a question. But yeah, you think of a gulp or a paddle tail when you think of a soft plastic.
I think.
I don't think about gulp at all.
80% of the people watching this think gulp shrimp.
Probably, yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of other options that you can use for soft plastics that are very, very successful, and really you can downsize those to 2 inches, 2.5, 3 inch baits. Work really good in the wintertime, especially as we start to get more and more of those fronts moving through.
I caught fish on Ned rigs last week.
I've been using them as well.
Yep, I've been using them. I used one the other day, just solid, and was at least keeping up with the person that was throwing a plug on the same boat.
The Little Johns have been great.
Yep, Little Johns have been very well. I've been using those a lot as well lately. So, and that's for trout, and then the spoon bite for redfish has still been really good.
Yes.
This fall I've been throwing a lot of spoons, and still catching a ton of redfish. If I'm looking to target a redfish, I just put everything else on. I'll throw a gold spoon.
Well, that's one of those things that you want to throw a spoon when you're looking for redfish specifically. Right. Like this time of year, a lot of times the redfish and the trout overlap and they hang around the same areas. So I kind of sometimes shy away from a spoon because I want to be open to the big trout or the redfish. But if you're really specifically targeting redfish, like spoon, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
for sure.
just don't throw the spoon a ton
No,
this year.
that's what
this time of year because the trout option is there too. Where you're fishing with redfish, there's liable to be a 25-inch trout laid up,
and they're for sure mixed in right now.
Yeah.
I mean they have been.
Well, we got to the point the other day where we had caught so many trout that we were just ready to do something else, even if we didn't get as many bites.
Oh yeah, you
So
can
we-
weed through them, throw a spoon.
yeah,
every
so
now and
we
then you'll
just
catch a trout on a spoon.
well,
but
so
it
we
ain't
just
gonna be
switched over to gold spoon, and then
It's normally a decent one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a big trout.
Yeah, we picked up, steady redfish. I mean, we weren't catching as many as the trout were, but we were weeding out all those trout that were in there and just picking up redfish. We did, like you say, caught a trout. We caught a couple trout on a spoon, and then we caught a flounder. So,
Yep.
you know.
The flounder is. I guess these water temps they pushed in pretty good here for a little while.
Have you been catching a few
Oh,
flounder?
yeah.
That's
Oh,
good.
yeah.
That's good to hear. All right, so that's our January best bets. Evan, you want to add anything to that as far as what you like to do in January? You think we got it covered?
I think you guys did a great
All right.
job.
Cut needlefish. That's what Evan's throwing.
All right, so
He likes the odor of the needlefish.
that is our January best bets, and that is sponsored by Keaton Beach Bums. Keaton Beach Bums is located here in Keaton Beach as well. Keaton Beach Bums is also formerly called the Corner Store. Have all your needs to get ready for a fishing trip, a day on the water. They've got your gas, your bait, your ice. They've got a new ice machine in the back where you can go in and buy buckets or what do you call them? Big baskets. The baskets of ice. So if if you're going offshore or something and you need a lot of ice, that's definitely an option. They've got phenomenal food on the inside. You're looking for lunch or dinner, you got a hot bar in there. You can grab you a sandwich or some home cooking in there. They've got
some
like
smoked ribs,
collard
smoked
greens,
chicken.
and mac and cheese, and all kinds of good stuff in there at the Keaton Beach Bums. So make sure you stop in there and check them out. So that is the January Best Bets brought to you by Keaton Beach Bums. All right, we're gonna talk tackle here real quick. I know we've gotten a little wordy, but I do want to talk tackle. So our tackle tip this month is going to be talking about how, and I I like to do this, or specifically do this time of year, is I will downsize my gear that I'm using. And it kind of correlates to what I was talking about as far as my best bet. So if I'm throwing a lot of smaller, lighter weight, soft plastics, then it makes sense to downsize what you're throwing those on. So I like to downsize my rig. From mostly I'm throwing, 90% of the time medium to medium heavy action rods. But in the wintertime, I do like to downsize to medium light to accommodate those, 1/8, quarter ounce, those smaller soft plastics. And so that's something that I like to do. And then I will usually pair that up with either 1,000 or 2,500 series reel. The rod that I like is a Daiwa Isla. It's a 7-foot medium light action. Got great action. Got a really fast tip. You can really feel that bite, especially if you got braided line on there. Evan, you or Kenny, you guys ever step down your stuff in the wintertime?
One thing I do, I don't step down the weight of my rods.
Mm-hmm.
I keep them around the same, but I'll step down my line. I step down the rod length, especially if I'm fishing in creeks, and try to be a little more accurate and a little shorter cast.
Sure.
I typically go from 15-pound braid to 10-pound braid to get that distance on those lighter lures.
Right. Yep.
Lighter leader. You know.
Oh. Yeah, you may run 20 is where you would run 30.
30,
Yeah.
right.
I'll throw a couple medium lights on the boat this time of year to throw weightless.
Yeah.
Weightless plus soft plastics. You know, to get that extra distance, a little limber rod to slingshot it out there a little bit. I'm not carrying them all, but I may have one or two on.
Yeah, and that's
Right.
exactly the situation. I'm not carrying all medium lights. I like to have a couple of rods rigged up for the smaller baits that I like to throw. And plus, when you're typically in the wintertime, we're not catching a lot of big fish. Now, we will run into a big trout occasionally, but and just catching those fish on a little lighter rod is a whole lot of fun. So
I just don't have your money, Jay. I mean,
I don't know about that. Yeah,
It's an industry secret that I love throwing weightless soft plastics in the wintertime.
Absolutely.
And anyone who's fished with me is pretty aware of that.
So that is kind of what our tackle tip is for this month. If you feel like trying something a little different, step down that rod. I like a 7-foot medium light action rod. And then, throw in those smaller soft plastics on it, and you'll find that, when you're catching a bunch of trout and redfish, it's a whole lot of fun on that light rod. And plus, it's a little more technical. You're hitting certain spots, and it's a lot of fun. All right, so that is this month's tackle tip. So that is going to lead us into our questions for January, and we've got some questions that have popped up here. So we'll start to get to those now as well. If you do have any other questions that you want to get up there that are not in the comments at the moment, please feel free to get those up there, and we're kind of going to go through them and answer them. Before we do that, though, we just want to, again, thank the Keaton Beach Trading Post for hosting us here tonight. Make sure that if you are in Keaton Beach, I know January and February are not busy times of the year, but if you are down here, the fishing's phenomenal. So if you want to go fishing, it's a great spot to be. So make sure you stop in here, visit them. If you leave your sunglasses or left your sunglasses at the house and you come down here, you can grab a pair of sunglasses here.
Maui Gems, they got Maui Gems
and Costas, Maui Gems and Costas.
Yeah, Orca coolers.
Yep.
Yeah, lots of great product.
Yeah, some really cool barrel stave serving dishes and shot flights.
The seasoning over there, the sauces, fish batter.
Frames. They got all kinds of stuff here. It's a cool place. Just chop in. Just stop in and just take a look around. Cool place.
Very, very nice. Yep, got a lot of cool stuff in here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go broke.
All right.
My wife's put in her request for money.
All right, so we've got some questions and some comments here, so I'm going to kind of go through them just to kind of give everybody a shout out here as we go. So whether it's a question or a comment, I want to give the people who've showed up tonight kind of a little bit of a shout out. Steve Bond was on here earlier. Not sure if he's still here, but Steve Bond said, "Evening, fellas." Steve, I hope you're having a wonderful winter.
Steve, I hope that water didn't get in your camper the other night. I thought about you. I should have went over there and checked, but we were all flooded out. I couldn't get to you.
Steve's
I appreciate you saving my boat, by the way.
George.
You and George.
No, it was all George, man. By the time I got over there, he had it straightened out.
I did thank George for sure.
Steve's too busy winning kayak tournaments to worry about us too much. Bobby Hires Uric says, "Good evening, guys. Good evening, and thank you, guys. Well, we appreciate it, Bobby. Appreciate you tuning in." Brent Woodard says, "Top water was the ticket today, boys." I find that hard to believe, Brent. Unless you're not fishing in. We're gonna call him out on that, or
he's in our southern region.
He's okay.
Brent's a fish whisperer.
Okay,
so he may have just
Yeah.
Completely destroyed him on top.
he may have.
Sail cats. Sail cats.
No, but like we were saying earlier, the top water bite has been really good. So
Yes.
if it's working, it's working. Dante Wimbush, how y'all doing today? How's the fishing been?
Fishing's been great.
Phenomenal. We are also doing phenomenal. We're just going to skip over Michael Ammon's comment here.
He's the fourth.
He is.
what was the fourth? Shimp or something like that?
Okay, Dante Wimbush has a question here. He says, "What's y'all's preferred setup for redfish?" Kenny, I'm going to let you answer that while I adjust the camera for a second.
Okay. We kind of touched on it. I think most of us typically throws a medium heavy, 7 foot, 7'6" rod, 15-pound braid. It's typically 2,500, 3,000 size reel for our area. I mean, we don't have to try to keep them out of mangroves.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. If I'm throwing a top water or a spoon, I like a medium heavy, just because it's got enough a backbone in it. A lot of times that redfish is chasing that spoon down, so you need that extra backbone in that rod to get a good hook set. And the top water, you're usually throwing big plugs, so you want that extra.
Launch that heavy lure.
Yeah, exactly. And then if I'm throwing soft plastics, then I do like a medium action typically for that. Unless it's like a really big
I just use
soft plastic. Yeah. And then
now he asked about snook.
Yeah, I was gonna
snook. You're gonna want that heavier action.
Yeah, you definitely want a medium heavy to a heavy action, especially if you're fishing around structure.
Well, snook generally only hang on structure, for the most part,
unless they're spawning on the beaches.
I would fish 30 to 40 pound braid, and then I would fish a 40 to 60 pound, monofilament clear leader.
4,000 size reel, 4,000 or 5,000.
There's been some snook coming out of a little bit of our southern area.
North. What
I've
about
caught
north?
I've caught a few
north
this
and
year.
west of Steenhatchee. Anybody seen a snook here lately?
North, I don't know. I haven't seen one here lately.
Not lately.
But I will say the ones that
I haven't seen any. We were catching them for a little while
Yeah.
there,
Yep,
and
yep.
I haven't seen any.
Well,
I mean,
so
I've definitely caught some this year, but it's been a while.
so far our winter has not been cold enough to do any. The ones that are here, I don't believe it's been cold enough to do anything to them. So if it doesn't get much colder than it's been, then the ones that are here should be fine. So Dante, I hope that answers your question there. Trey Lucky says greetings from South Georgia. Greetings, Trey. Appreciate you coming in and stopping by.
South Georgia brethren.
That's right. You guys got a big game coming up here next week, right?
That Herschel Walker on Count Them Dogs. Give them hell, don't you, boy? Woo!
Ben Childer says fishing has been great for sure. Normally catching them around oyster bars this time of year. Is it the warm weather that they haven't been on them lately? Yeah, I would. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's the warmer temperatures. They're just more scattered.
Yeah,
They
just
haven't been
pound
on
them
'em?
bars, baby.
Yeah.
Pound them bars.
Yeah.
They haven't been on them?
Well, that's what he says. He says he hasn't found. I mean,
He said they haven't been
He
on
said they
bars?
haven't been on
Yeah,
them.
he said normally catching them around oyster bars this time of year. Is it the warm weather that they haven't been on them lately? There are fish on the bars.
There is.
I don't know,
Yeah.
my dude. I've been
Yeah.
pulling them off the bars.
Yeah.
There
Absolutely.
they're on the bars. So you might just need to try to find some good bars with some good water movement.
With lots of people on them.
and then
you
maybe-
gotta fish the ones with lots of people. It's kind of like scallop season.
It's like scallop season. Go where the boats are.
Lots of water movement, and then it depends on also when you're fishing that bar. I like a bar that's good and covered up. It's got to have some water on it too. So,
Yep.
yeah,
And especially this time of year, one side may be a little better than the other.
And I'm gonna. I don't want to contradict you there, but. And I don't want to give away too. You know what? Never mind. Let's move on.
you talking about the water level on the bars? Is that what you were
I
going to
don't
go?
wanna
Okay,
talk
all right,
about
all
it.
right, all right. Okay. Michael Ammon says, and we talked about this a minute ago, never saw the grass this bad this time of year. It is exceptionally bad for the time of year that we are in currently. Normally, it is blown out by now. Usually we've had a few good fronts, and it's all blown out. So, Drew Wine says, where can I find no GMO farm-raised shrimp for fishing in your area? Any of your local bait and tackle shops
Absolutely.
I don't know.
will have
Is that a serious
The
question?
Chinese restaurant.
none of the shrimp in our area are farm-raised. They all come locally from our fleet of shrimp boat fishermen.
You can go to Winn-Dixie. Probably find some farm raised.
Surely that's humor, right?
Oh yeah.
Michael Ammon, I did fish with Michael the other day, and I was using my medium light rod and my little Ned rig. And
Did you catch a big trout with Michael?
I did catch a big trout, but I didn't catch it on unfair. I'll tell you that. I caught it on.
Come on, man.
I heard you were liking that rip and slash.
I threw it a couple times. I did catch a couple fish on the rip and slash. But he says Jay had me thinking he had some monster fish with that light action rod. they fight good, man. They fight good.
You don't go fishing with Michael without catching big trout. That's the big trout whisperer.
Him and Steve Bond.
Yeah, Steve Bond catches a bunch of big trout too.
Shelly Hagan, what's the best spot for catching redfish this time of year? Banks, holes, mouths of river.
All the above.
Everywhere. Big redfish or redfish?
She just says, what's the best spot for catching redfish?
Holes.
Yeah, I mean that.
Go take you some shrimp to a deep river bend or, a point bar or something like that, and you can you can have fun with some rats and some lower slots.
Definitely catch a lot of redfish doing that. A lot of smaller redfish doing that. But they're in all of those spots. It just all of the banks are different. I like a bank that's got structure on it. I mean, the more structure on a bank, the better it's going to be.
Yeah.
For the most part.
For
I
the
mean,
most
that's not like an
For the
every
most part.
situation scenario. But if you're looking for a place to start, that's a place to start.
Kenny likes fishing the mud like he's in Louisiana.
Hey, it's been working right now. Them little feeder creeks and
All right, so
Gotta get away from the bar somehow.
Steve apparently is still here because he said y'all didn't see my camper float by a couple days ago, did you?
Guys, that was crazy. I'll just tell you about the other night. Just real quick.
Story
We're
time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're good, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So Kenny and I went. We went out on the water that night, and we hung out a little bit later that night, and just hanging out or whatever. And I went to bed 10 o'clock, not thinking a thing in the world. This is what, Sunday night?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not even paying attention to anything. Well,
y'all went duck hunting, right? You just said that.
No.
Oh, I was
We
gonna
went
say you went
hanging
duck.
We just hung
hung
out.
We,
Oh, okay.
we were hanging out. Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, I get a call from my buddy up there on the front canal at like 10:45 at night. Wakes me up. I'm dead asleep, you know. And I just, I cut. And I'm not gonna lie, I cuss him a little bit. What's he calling me for? You know, just dismiss it, throw the phone down, and then my brain like kicks in. It's like, okay, he's not calling me for no reason this late at night. And I look at my text message. He's texted me like 2 or 3 times. Hey man, the canal's flooding. And you need to get up. So I wake up, and as I'm getting dressed, I can just hear my windows rattling, and I was like, okay, here we go. Get ready. How bad is this about to be? When I walked out, but luckily, it was barely over the seawall in my yard. But a lot of other places got flooded. There was boats coming off the lift. It was a mess. It got a bunch of trash and debris got scattered everywhere. Portions of Marina Road were flooded. It was the front part of Keaton Beach Drive was pretty much flooded, and it was a mess. You know, there's people riding around honking horns trying to wake people up. It just this thing hit in the middle of the night. We got about 3.5 foot storm surge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I lifted the boat up higher than normal, and George called me at like 2:15 in the morning and asked me how to turn my battery switch on. I couldn't even answer him. I was out of it.
Yeah, George said I got there when we were getting the Kenny's boat back straight on the boat lift, and George was laughing. He's like, I called Kenny. He was out of it. And he said, where's your battery turn-off switch? And Kenny's like, the boat.
I told him the wrong spot.
It's in the boat.
Brandy's like, hey, you didn't tell him the right spot.
Hey.
I'm like,
Hey, that was kind of me when I first got that call that night, man. I was, it took, my brain didn't function right for a while.
I'm
was
sure
out
very
there, and
appreciative.
there was boats floating off and water coming over the seawall, and I was still trying to wake up, man. It was a mess.
That was pretty wild. I woke up the next morning and saw the videos of it, and I was like, oh my gosh. But
it was good to see a lot of the community pull together too. That's
a lot of people did the right thing and saved some boats that were drifting away, and but Steve, your camper is as far as I know, it's still in place. So
hopefully, I haven't looked. I did think about you though, but half of Marina Road was
it wasn't the one sitting down there on the side of the road, was it?
Hey, there was a couple boats that got.
There were a couple boats that got washed up into the marsh.
Not in great shape.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so next one is Kevin Gonzalez, and he says, "Hey Kenny, how's the Cobia bite been? Y'all been seeing any big guys
Kenny's
cruising
been
the flats?"
slaying the Cobia.
Oh yeah, it's been great somewhere. Not here.
Yeah, you would think with that water temperature in the 70s, though, that you might see one show up randomly, but
Yeah,
that hasn't been the case.
Last year we were catching some kingfish inshore, and this December or late November, early December.
Yeah, I think I caught a kingfish in November last year.
I know I did. Didn't really see that this year. Didn't see a lot of Spanish mackerel in our area.
Cobia this year overall, though,
Cobia was not good this year. I caught two the whole season.
I think I caught 2, yeah. And no legal size fish for me.
And I think a lot of that was that, which we already talked about, was those late cold fronts to the bait.
We got on them pretty good for like a week.
It wasn't even that long. It was like a couple days, right?
Yeah. It wasn't long.
Yeah. Tim Wright says, thanks for saving mine, too. I guess and your boat got saved by somebody.
Yeah, Tim, I was all over it, buddy.
Brent Woodard is responding to his comments from earlier, or our comments from earlier, and he says, no, sir. I'm not sure what he's referring to.
In the river right now.
Yeah, he says in the river right now. Which river is that, Brent? If you feel like answering that.
Yeah, tell everybody where to go.
Yeah, don't answer that, Brent. I know where you were at, and let's save that.
All right. C.S. Thompson says, Kenny, what's up, man?
Hey, Sean. How's it going?
Dante Wimpush says, appreciate y'all. Yes, sir, appreciate y'all. We were welcome, Dante. Glad we can help you out. Dante's, I guess, must be a dog, too. He says, I sure hope the dogs can pull through and beat Bama this year. Wasn't able to watch any games this year, but glad they in the championship game on Monday. Evan's going to be a wreck on Monday. I just know it. All right.
Probably.
Dante. Without reading that, it's not been good.
Yeah. Shelly Hagan says big exclamation point. Chris Harwood, the man who has my new motor going on. Guys, I'm getting a brand new Mercury Pro XS. Well, it's already on.
Smart move.
I'm picking it up tomorrow. I'm super excited.
We're all Mercury guys now.
Yeah, I was a Yamaha fan for a long time, and I got my Pro XS. I think I got 150 hours on it now, and I will not go back.
Yep, I'm excited about having mine. I'm just, we get a lot of floating grass in our area, and that motor seems to be the one that handles the best out of all of them. So,
just the cooling system in the water pump and the water pickup there is just superior on the Mercury.
Night and day difference.
Yep. So anyway, that's our speak on Mercury, which we may have some more talk about that a little bit later.
Mercury, hook me up. I'm going to buy a new one this year. Hook me up on discount.
But Chris did have a question. Chris Harwood said,
two.
"What did the big trout get caught on? Don't hold out on us." Well, the one I caught was on a Ned rig. It was on a mushroom jig head and a electric chicken slim swims paddle tail.
Yeah,
So-
I've been throwing weightless soft plastics like 5-inch saltwater assassin jerk shads.
It's been suspending plugs for me. That unfair greenie and Myridine.
We caught I will say we did.
Everything,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did catch about a 25-inch
And cut needlefish.
on a paddle tail the other day too. Though, so it's all plastic. Cut needlefish? Did you say cut
Well,
needlefish?
he's referring like when we were going out to hang out the other night on the water. Somebody caught a needlefish off the pier, and like from 50 yards away, I could smell that stinking son of a bitch. It was awful. Excuse my language. It was awful.
It was
I hate
awful.
them. Like if someone catches one on the boat, like I'll smell it the rest of the
Like
day.
I can't hardly smell. Ever since my second time with COVID, I can't hardly smell anything, and I smelled that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were 50 yards away. There's a 12-inch needlefish got pulled up on the pier, and I smelled it immediately.
25-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
Michael Ammon, again, if you don't have an airboat blowing up the bank that you're fishing, that's true. We did have that come by us the other day. Just ran right down the whole.
Plenty of tower
bank.
boats been around too, so
That
that's always
lets you
good.
know that there's tournaments coming up whenever you start seeing those.
Yeah, every weekend.
Dante is
Come on, Dante.
yeah, come with
I
it,
got you.
brother. He says, would mid to late February be a good time to come to a charter with y'all? Really want to target my dad on his first redfish. Man, late February, early March is about as good as it gets.
Boy, Kenny, I
Absolutely.
put you on a redfish now.
So yeah.
Puppy drum.
Steve Bond, thanks. Yeah, neighbors checked on. He's good. Ben Childers says, awesome show. Appreciate that, Ben. See y'all next week. Got to retry those oyster bars. Been catching them good between them in the grass. Yeah, they'll be there too.
Yeah, and not necessarily right off the top of an oyster bar, but adjacent to them.
Yeah, for
Well,
sure.
you know, and a lot of that depends on the tide. You know, and
I mean, if you got a big high tide, you can catch them off the top of it. But when we say catching fish off oyster bars, we don't mean we're throwing to the crest of them. You know, we're throwing around them and the troughs and the grass right adjacent to them.
Right.
Because they're just cruising the edges of those things unless it's real high and cold.
Yeah. Brent Woodard said it's Snook. It's Snook he's catching.
yep.
So
Yeah,
there you go.
that's what I said. I knew where he was, what he was catching.
Trey Lucky, are they on the slick lure yet? Usually find it works best in the wintertime.
They should be. I mean, I don't really throw it, but I mean,
don't either. We're catching them on everything.
I mean, I'm throwing them weightless jerk shads, so I mean that's a similar profile. So yeah, sure.
Yeah. It's exactly the similar profile. The only thing about that slick lure is it's got more weight to it, so you can cast a little further. Pretty much. I mean, right?
Yeah, it's bulky. Yeah.
Yeah, main difference.
Yeah,
Action's
you know,
similar. It slides through the water a little bit more.
One that we haven't touched on that typically this time of year produces pretty good are the Paul Browns.
Yeah, you know, I threw some at the end of the kind of the late February, early March last year. Didn't have a whole lot of success with them. Maybe it was just I was a little bit late in throwing them.
Normally right about now.
Yeah, right
is
about
when
now.
it starts.
Yeah, should be throwing them now.
You got that's cold weather bait. I
Yep.
mean, you got to have water temp down in the 50s, which
You
is
do.
59 today. I mean, if it's consistently in the 50s, you can break out the Paul Browns.
Yep.
So do you guys like to throw those Paul Browns and those suspending plugs
Cold.
when you got fish stacked up in a creek though? Like, is that what you're throwing?
I use them all year. not the Paul Browns, but I use suspending plugs.
Well, yeah,
on there.
this is but like a suspending twitch plug, like a Paul Brown or a mirror.
If you got some fish stacked up.
Because I mean, I always just use something that is going to stay. You know, I find that most of those fish are near the bottom, so I'm just fishing something down there near the bottom with them.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how deep, which I talked about this last year for those of you that watched, depending on how deep the hole is, I'm fishing in a creek. You know, I'll use a heavy Dean sometimes, a lot of times. You know, and just get that right.
Seems to me like I'm not going to switch to something that. Well, let me just phrase it this way. So if I'm approaching the creek and I have fish, okay, I got this oyster bar. There's a little hole right here. It's perfect conditions. It's the right time, white water temperature. I know there's fish there.
Yep.
Right. I know what I've caught them on in the past. I know what they'll eat.
Yep.
Are you going to go in there and throw something other than what you know, like a Paul Brown?
Once Chip Wallace wears your ass out on a Paul Brown, you might start switching.
You know,
what happened to me last year?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't fished them a ton, so I would. I mean,
they work.
I know they
do
work.
I don't fish them a lot.
No doubt.
I just threw that out because it is a
doubt.
popular bait, like the redfin. I mean, you know,
but when you think about fishing a bait like that, you're thinking about fishing more over like a shallow flat. You know what I mean? Or a shallow area that's got some structure in it. But
they definitely work in a hole.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know they do. But is that like when you
I wouldn't say that's my go-to in a creek.
That's what I mean. Like when you have your tackle box laid out there and you roll up into that spot, is that what you're going to reach in your box and grab?
Most of the time, no. Most of the time, it's going to be a small, 2 to 3.5 inch,
shrimp imitation.
The creek's more of a. More of a mud minnow imitation
Well,
size.
I like a shrimp imitation using in there too. So,
I mean, you really got to see what's in the creek.
Where's Chip at?
Is there shrimp in there? Is there mud minnows? Is there?
Chip's usually in here.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody has a little bit slightly way of doing things. So.
Yeah, I try to match the natural
for
bait
sure.
and
I know
at that time.
I know that there's there's typically and that when you're throwing a little small soft plastic creature type bait, it could look like a fish. Obviously, if it imitates a fish, it imitates a shrimp. You're just trying to cover the gambit of what those fish might potentially see in there,
depending on what you're targeting too.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Got a couple more questions, and I think we're going to wrap it up here. Donnie says, "What's y'all's most memorable catch?" That's actually a good question. That can lead us into something. Evan, what's your most memorable catch as a guide? Let's quantify, clarify. Let's set some parameters on that as a guide. Either not that you caught, but maybe one of your clients caught.
Well, I'm a trout and redfish guide, so we've caught a bunch of trout and redfish, but I think the catch that stands out most to me is some of my regulars. The Peterman clan from Valdosta wanted to go shark fishing one day, and I don't hardly ever shark fish, but I went out there like I knew what I was doing, hung a chum bag, and within 15 minutes we had an 11-foot tiger shark on, which was
that's pretty
just
cool.
Super cool.
That was last year, wasn't it?
That was not last summer, but the summer before.
I remember that.
And that was probably the last time I actually shark fished. But that was super cool. We had him up beside the boat, got some cool videos of him. It was just, something that big is just cool to see up close.
For sure. Kenny? As a guide, most memorable catch. Doesn't have to be necessarily a big fish. It could be something that just means something to you.
Yeah. I've got a regular client comes with me quite a bit, and he this was last spring. He hooked into the biggest redfish of his life, and a bull shark tried to eat it, and it got down in the grass and did not want to come out. The shark wasn't leaving, so I did what I had to do. I jumped in the water and went and got it for him.
There you go, with the shark in the water.
Yes,
that's impressive.
Yes.
That's commitment right there. That's the kind of service you get from real epic charters.
I learned that from Evan.
You get hands on.
I ain't jumping in the water if the shark's trying to get fish.
He's a good friend, good client.
Yep.
I don't care.
I'm bigger than the shark.
Oh, so I mean, are you saying it wasn't a very like? Are we talking like a
no? It was
8-foot bull shark or like a 2-foot bull shark?
Oh no, it was a big bull shark.
Because that makes a difference. Mine is probably the very first redfish that I guided to on fly that was tailing. So that would be my first one. So I have a regular client of mine who's been coming for the last few years now, and the first redfish that I guided a client to was him on fly, and it was a giant fish. I think it was like 23 inches, but and I'll never forget, it was tailing right in front of us, and the thing ate like 4 feet from the boat, and so that was really cool. So that's one that kind of sticks out in my mind. So anyway,
my most memorable moment is when Evan walked off the side of my boat backwards.
How wily coyoted that one.
He was just excited, I think.
That was a fun trip.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, that's going to about wrap us up.
You might want to read that one Scott Parrish said.
Yeah, he says, pro tip, make sure you change the oil in your lower unit time to time. Well, when you take your motor in for service, you expect the lower unit to be to be changed. So that's all I'll say about that. All right. I think you guys got anything else you want to add real quick? We good?
Good.
Evan, we won't probably see you next month, but we will see you some point down the road this year. So we really appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us, man. It's always a good time. I gotta admit, I'm gonna miss my right hand man here a little bit, but
I'm gonna miss watching his facial expressions.
Yeah, but we got Kenny coming on.
Well, you think I was retiring this year, so you would think you would give me a month off. But considering we're filming this 200 yards from my house.
Well, we didn't give anybody a formal goodbye last year, so we'll give you a chance to come on and just kind of send you off, ride you off into the sunset.
Yeah, so I'm really trying to take a step back from social media. So if you follow the page,
good for you.
You've probably noticed that I haven't posted a whole lot here in the last couple months, and I'm just going to continue that trend. Not saying I won't throw a picture up here and there, but I'm just trying to take a step back off of it a little bit.
Good for you. Good
Absolutely.
for you, for sure. Well, guys, Kenny, I guess we're going to be in Tallahassee next month at the Bass Pro Shops for their spring fishing classic.
So, yeah, y'all come join us. Come see us.
If you're in Tallahassee, we'll put the date up.
They always got some good electronics on sale. Like if you need a new GPS or a bottom finder.
Yeah, for during that spring fishing classic for sure. So that's the plan for next month. We will let you know, or we're going to try to do these pretty consistently the first Tuesday of every month. Yep. So look for that on the first Tuesday of every month. If we have to change it, we'll let you know way in advance, depending on where we're shooting, and we do have to accommodate some people's schedules. But we are going to try to stick to that first Tuesday of the month, so you can have an idea when it's coming. And then Kenny and I are talking about maybe doing a brief mid-month update, but we have yet to decide about that. And
especially when we have kind of these weather changes,
if we got time, that's
changing.
The biggest thing. Time is going to be the biggest thing. And then also,
yeah, he's a busy man.
I was supposed to have some stuff to give away tonight, but I left it at the house. So what I'm going to do is when I get home or sometime in the next day or so, I am going to post a picture of the stuff that we are going to give away, and we are going to give it away next month when we do our February episode. So when I post the stuff, make sure you follow the instructions to enter the giveaway. We're going to be trying to give away quite a bit of stuff this year, yes. I believe. Yep. I've got a brand new Daiwa tackle bag that is, really nice tackle bag that we can give away. I've got some rods that I've got a couple rods that we can give away, and then we've got some other stuff that we'll be giving away.
Reels we're going to give away.
Yeah, for sure. So make sure, if you don't already, make sure you like and follow the Big Ben Fishing Report page. That's going to help us out a bunch. It's going to keep you locked into what we're going to be doing for this year. I'm excited about the upcoming year. This is the first episode. So, and also one last thing, if there's
and we're going to try to expand a little bit too.
Yes. Yeah. We've got some. We're working on getting some really good guests this year. We wanted to start with the best guest first, obviously, and it's only downhill from here. But we've got some great guests lined up for the coming months. So make sure that you guys stay in tune to that. We're going to try to do a little traveling. So our plan is to go over to St. Mark maybe go down to Cedar Key, and get some guys from those areas to join us. So it's not just the same, area we're talking about every month. So if you don't already, make sure you follow along. Make sure you follow Real Epic Charters.
Yes.
Make sure you follow Plug and Fly Charters. Most of you probably already follow Appalachia Inshore Charters, but make sure you follow along them. Even though Evan's scaling back, I'm sure he'd still appreciate the follow. Make sure you do that. And then I guess that's it. We will see y'all next month. I am Captain Kenny, or I'm Captain Kenny. This is Kenny. This is Captain Kenny Mullins. I'm Captain Jay Carson. That's Evan Snow over there. He doesn't like to use Captain for whatever reason, but he is Captain Evan Snow.
It's a bit pretentious.
Ben Austin said roll
I drive
tide.
a skiff, not a cruise ship.
And we again want to thank Keaton Beach Bums for hosting us again this month. Again, if y'all get a chance, really stop in here. Just take a
Keaton
look.
Beach
I'm
Trading Post.
Yes, Keaton Beach Trading Post. Thank you. Keaton Beach Trading Post. Also stop into Beach Bums too, though. I mean, they're like right around the corner from each other, so make sure you do that. And that's it. So we will see you guys next month in February from Bass Pro Shops. Look forward to it. See you.